Last night, the Houston County Sheriff's Office, along with assistance from the Dothan Police Department, Alabama Alcoholic Beverage Control Board, and the Drug Enforcement Administration's Task Force, seized 1 pound of ice. Ice is a smokable form of methamphetamine. We typically see this type of drug shipped in bulk from Mexico. It's produced in large quantities in Mexico, brought across the border, and then transshipped to other locations within the United States for distribution. This seems to be the trend here in Houston County. We're seeing more and more ice than we are seeing the homemade type of methamphetamine. One advantage to having ice here instead of the other type of methamphetamine is that we don't have to deal with the cleanup, hazardous material cleanup in different locations where we find labs. But ice is a major problem because it does come in bulk and it's more easily distributed in larger quantities. And to combat this, we have to make sure that we get into some of these larger organizations who are putting this ice out here in our community. This seizure here was a result of a 3-month-long investigation, a surveillance detail that's been going on. Been very manpower intensive. We could not accomplish the mission of getting this type of quantity of drug off the streets of Houston County if it were not for cooperation with other agencies that helped us out. We greatly appreciate their assistance in this case and all of us working together as a team. We appreciate District Attorney Doug Valeska for assistance in getting this case through our court system here in Houston County, and also assisting us in getting this to the federal level where these people can be prosecuted along with some other people that will be prosecuted at a later date also. The value of the drugs that were seized in 1 pound of methamphetamine is approximately $25,000.
In this case, do you know if this ice actually came from Mexico?
We're sure it did. I mean, that's basically the only place that the ice is produced. There are no controls on the possession or use of pseudoephedrine in Mexico. They buy it by the ton in Mexico. They have mega labs which produce methamphetamine by the hundreds and thousands of pounds, and then shipped into the United States.
So one pound of ice is actually a lot to recover in one sting?
That's correct, yeah. Pound of ice is very substantial, yes.
Those state laws that limited the ingredients used to produce the methamphetamine, are those laws that worked?
Those laws, we have seen those laws work. They cut down on the people easily buying pseudoephedrine in the stores. There's 2 things that it does. It curbs the people from buying so much at one location. It takes them longer to get it up to actually cook some methamphetamine. The other thing is that it gives law enforcement a record so that we can go and check in the different drugstores and all, to see who's buying the pseudoephedrine, and that gives us leads on who's actually producing the stuff too. Prosecute on the local level at this time. We are taking this federal, but there's some reasons for that, and a lot of times with these type of cases, the organization stretches far beyond county lines or city limits or even state borders.
So do you feel like, since it is becoming a federal case, that is true in this case, that they were maybe selling this across state lines and that sort of thing?
Definitely. I mean, these people were part of a larger organization. So
And actually, is that really more than just a regular street level person would have? Something like that, would that indicate they were dealing to the dealers?
definitely, this is a trafficking quantity of methamphetamine. This is a large amount here that will be dealt to dealers, and then the dealers are breaking it down into gram quantities and selling it in gram and slightly larger quantities than that to the users.
Is there any reason to believe that the suspects might have had more in their possession, like back at their house or anything like that?
Well, we exhausted some other investigative leads there, and we don't believe so at this time.
Chief Benton, what was your department's involvement in this arrest and operation?
Well, we assisted the sheriff's office on this. We've been working closely together for the last 4 months, and I just want to reiterate some of the things that the sheriff's been saying, that you know, whenever you can have 2 large agencies in one county working together, it's going to be beneficial for the city of Dothan and Houston County.
arrests or any violent criminal history?
None that we know of at this time, yeah. In this case, fled and had to be chased down on foot also.
So he's facing additional charges?
No, no additional charges on that. He fled on foot for just a short distance before he was actually caught.
No doubt when the agencies can work together as cooperation from the top to the bottom, this is the result. You get death and destruction that's peddled in your community, and this ruins people's lives, families. They make money. That's the business they're in, to traffic, and they think they can come through Houston, Henry County, or the city of Dothan and get away with this. So when you work together, this is a result of holding up this pound. So when you have cooperation, everybody together from the DA's office, the police department, sheriff's department, this is what you get. You get arrests, big cases, and you get convictions, and you get people in prison. But more importantly, like the sheriff, you get this off the street so you don't have the person that's selling it or the addict that's using it. It's like a cancer. It destroys everything it touches. And once again, you know, we need to do more, but once again, we're limited in our resources, but we can work together, and I commend the men who made the cases with the information they developed. This is what the goal you work for. You get the nickel and dime seller all the time, but when you can get the bigger people, and then you can use the U.S. Attorney's Office to help us to reach out with that long arm and get the big suppliers, you know, that puts a big dent in the cartel. And that's where you hit them with getting their stuff off the street, they don't get their money, and it causes them problems. So the bottom message is stay the heck out of Houston, Henry County, or you're going to prison. So that's the bottom line. So I commend the officers and the sheriff's department being together. That's it. That's the best way to put it, as I described it, and I know I'm holding it up, but a lot of lives will suffer if this made the streets. A lot of families will be ruined, and a lot of children will be affected, and there'll be a lot of people going to prison if this was broken down and sold on the street. And what we hear in the DA's office, why don't you catch the bigger people instead of the smaller people? Well, the smaller people, they get it from the bigger people, so when you catch them and you get the big person, then you take it off the streets, which helps us get the smaller people. So, you know, the sheriff's department and the Dothan Police Department, the agents who made these cases, you forget how dangerous it is for them to work these cases, and they risk their lives every day to make the streets of this city and this county safe. So, you know, I commend them from that, not just as a district attorney, but someone who lives here in this community. And I know you're smiling, but this is what death and destruction is. And financially, it destroys the family, and, you know, it fills up the prisons. But that's the only thing we can do is arrest them, prosecute them, and send them in prison. And you ask about the punishment. Hopefully they'll serve life sentences and never get out.
We have facilitated, but the people that the public is not seeing on the camera, these guys standing back here behind you, are the ones that have been out there working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to accomplish this mission. And I've been in their shoes before, and we want to make sure that we appreciate those guys that are actually out there doing the work, and we're making sure that they've got everything they need to do the work with.
Don't take their pictures.
Right.
But, you know, I would say this, to throw this out, this shows the cooperation of these departments together here, but what it takes is money from the commission to fund these officers and overtime instead of a budget that they're allotted, just like with the city with a small amount of dollars. When you can make a case like this with all the manpower, and they complain or gripe, and I'll say it is the D.E.A., there's a question about overtime. No amount of overtime can be spent that's not worth this. So, you know, I encourage, you know, the commissioners and the city commission, I know they have a budget, but those officers need the overtime so they can make cases like this to help these departments. You know, you spend for what you get, and they can go out running under a cover operation right now and arrest 100 people for small amounts, and then we're hearing, you know, you're not getting the big person. Well, it takes money, time, and effort, and overtime has to come from the county or city governments to fund this, but there's a result that shows it's successful, so you can encourage them to release some more dollars, even though times are tough. But once again, how many lives would be ruined by that? So, you know, we ask them to continue to help both departments, as well as the U.S. Attorney's Office. You know, it's your tax dollars too, but that's why it's so important.